If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Welcome to the Get Certified Together, created as part of Technicove, a free knowledge-sharing website based in London. If you love our content, please like and subscribe from your favorite podcast player. Reach out to us via www.technicove.com for suggestions and collaborations.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Get Certified Together series. Now in this week's episode, we won't be covering any technical topics, but instead we are going to discuss what's the plan from now on. Now if you recall that we have covered already well-architected frameworks, so if you haven't seen or heard about that episode, if you haven't got chance to check them out, then I highly recommend that, because not all pillars are relevant for us, but security pillars is one thing which will be coming on and on again, because ultimately, we are trying to secure the AWS infrastructure. So I recommend that you check that out, especially the security pillar kind of thing. But yeah, in this week's episode, we won't be covering anything around technical side of thing. But what we will be doing is, what's our plan from now on? So if you recall, I mentioned it a couple of times that I don't really like the checklist kind of thing which we did for CCSP, where we go from top to bottom covering all the topics in one go. I don't like this for AWS security guide they have shared, because the domain topics and task statements, they seems like quite jumbled, and I don't think it will be fair for anyone who is new to AWS and listening to my podcast and trying to understand AWS security. It won't be fair on them if they read from top to bottom, because some of the topics are like, they don't cover the basics first, they are straight away going into the advanced topics. So what I did is, as part of last week assessment and preparation for my this week's episode, I went through like a quick skim through on all the topics and domain, and I realized that there is a point from where we can start, which should be our start point. And I was listening to one of the podcasts and few videos as well, and well, they also actually were following something similar. So I think we are in the right path. It's not something which I am doing something new in this world. This is something which is already applied, and I've seen people who are going our way as well. So it's not something new, and we will be going through with the basic topic first, followed by more advanced around AWS security. Now, if you haven't checked the exam guide yet, then in exam guide, domain 3 and 4 are specifically around infrastructure and IAM security, and which I feel should be the basic. Now, the topics, some of the videos which I was checking out, they started with infrastructure. I still feel that that's wrong. We should be starting with IAM. IAM is domain 4. So from next week episode, what we will be doing is we'll be going through domain 4 IAM, which will be kind of our kickstart to this certification task statements and how we build our AWS knowledge from bottom to top instead of top to bottom or inside out. We should be going inside out, like going from the basic service and then building our stack on top of that. So domain 4 IAM, it have two task statements. Task statement 4.1 is design, implement and troubleshoot authentication for AWS resources, and task statement 2 is design, implement and troubleshoot authorization for AWS resources. So only difference between two is authentication and authorization. We have covered heavily in CCSP already what's the basic difference between authentication and authorization. Now there is a difference between CCSP and AWS certification, because in this we will be actually dealing with the services which help in authentication and authorization. So for example, for authentication we'll be we'll be reading about IAM identity centers, AWS single sign-on, multi-factor authentication and whatnot. For authorization, we will be reading about IAM policies, how different policies are applied, how we can simulate a policy as well before rolling out in production, RBAC and authorization errors, and how we can apply the principle of least privilege across an environment. So I think that will be a good kickstart, because even if you are new to AWS but you have some knowledge about info security anyhow, then it will be easier for you guys, because IAM is a basic concept which is, since like beginning of IT, we've seen IAM, and it's going on and on. Since even on-prem we see IAM concepts applied. So that won't be a big shift from on-prem. If you are working on existing monolith or on-prem kind of infrastructure, then you can easily understand the IAM concept still. So that's why we will be starting with IAM. Once we are done with IAM, we will be moving to infrastructure security, which is domain 3. Now in domain 3, again, the task statement seems jumbled up, because it straight away start with DNS, Route 53, CloudFront, then they talk about VPC, inter VPC, and finally in task statement 3.3 they talk about compute workloads. I feel like compute workloads should be the one which should be starting first, followed by networking, because networking in itself is quite big topic. There are around 3 task statements around network security, and there are a lot of concepts around network. So for network, I have also planned that we can maybe kill 2 birds with single stone. That's the saying, right? Yeah. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going through AWS network specialty topics to prepare myself for networking concepts. So it will help me to understand more on the networking side of things, and it will of course help me to share the knowledge with you guys around the network security. So network security in itself have 3 subtopics or 3 task statements in domain 3. So we'll be doing that all the way after compute workloads are finished, which is task statement 3.3. So plan from at least from now to maybe a month is we finish IAM, we finish compute workload security, task statement 3.3, and then we finish network security. If we do this part, which is domain 3 and domain 4, so in 1 month, let me just quickly check the percent if they have shared in the PDF somewhere. Yeah, there you go. So we'll be doing like 36% of the total content, which is infra security and IAM. So in 1 month we'll be doing like 36% of it, which is a good start, because then we have 1 month for another 36 or 35%. So we'll be reaching around 70%, and for the last month the rest of 30%. So it's a good start if we do like cover at least 36% of the content in 1 month, and then we go on from there. And it will be easier for us to correlate the concept, because domain 3, domain 4, like I said, seems to be basic, seems to be something which we should cover in the beginning, followed by advanced knowledge. For example, if I give you a hint, once we understand about compute workloads and network security, only then we can understand about logging in infrastructure, right? Ultimately, logs are what? Something which is generated from different services which are running onto the cloud. If you don't know about those services, if you don't know about compute workloads, if you don't know about networking logs and whatnot, then how you can correlate with the security logging and monitoring side of things? Ultimately means you need to know what services, what workloads you are logging and monitoring at the first place. So that's why I want to start with domain 4 and domain 3 first, followed by I'll decide later like what I did now in past 1 week. I'll also do for other topics, and then I'll decide whether we should be going with data protection and threat detection first, followed by security logging, and all the way in the end management and security governance. We can decide that later in after 1 month. So that's the whole plan of this 1 month. And in today's episode, I just wanted to share with you what we are planning to do for next 1 month and what topics we are starting, because ultimately this was the biggest confusion in my mind. And if you are regularly following the series, then I think you must be quite frustrated with it as well, like till when we will be discussing same thing, like when we will be starting the actual exam guide. So that's the plan. From next week episode, we will be learning about IAM. We start with authentication, different services which help in authentication. Then we move to authorization, different services which help and support in authorization. And then we move to infrastructure workload security, followed by network security. And by the time we reach the network security, I will in parallel try to understand more on network concepts from network specialty examination perspective. So probably if you're really interested in network side of thing, maybe that's the next certification we could target after AWS security is finished, or we can target another security certification. Means it all depends on where it takes us. But yeah, that's the thing. Means that's what I wanted to share in today's episode. So like I mentioned, it would be short one. I didn't even get to chance to say to you guys that let's come and meet after break, because I haven't even planned. So maybe somewhere in between breaks will be coming, which I don't know when they will come. So yeah, that's the whole thing which I wanted to share with you guys. And from next week onwards, let's catch up and start our AWS security specialty examination preparation with domain 4 IAM, identity and access management. Goodbye and good luck.
Thanks for listening to this episode. Follow the show so you don't miss out, as we deliver piping hot topics every week.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Ali Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.